So, darf ich die Kollegen bitten, sich hinzusetzen? Herzlich willkommen in der Bundespressekonferenz, zu dieser Pressekonferenz mit Philippe Lazzarini, dem Generalkommissar für das Hilfswerk der Vereinten Nationen für Palästina-Flüchtlinge im Nahen Osten, UNRWA. Wir haben uns dazu entschieden, Herrn Lazzarini einzuladen, weil wir in den letzten Wochen und Monaten ja öfter über die Situation in Gaza hier geredet haben. Heute reden wir also über die Relevanz und Herausforderungen für die Arbeit im Gazastreifen, Westjordanland und Ostjerusalem. Wir beginnen mit einem Eingangsstatement. Bitte schön.
Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to be with you again here in Berlin. A lot has happened since we met here a few months ago, and I think it's an understatement to say that we are meeting at a time of seismic challenges in the Middle East, but also around the world. Let me first give you an overview of the occupied Palestinian territory and the work of UNRWA. In Gaza, atrocities continue while global attention shifts elsewhere. A confined and captive population is bombarded, besieged, and constantly displaced. More than 55,000 people are reported killed, most of them women and children. 2 million people are being starved, among them 1 million children. We have said it several times, and I say it once again, no place is safe in Gaza, and no one is spared. Hospitals, schools, shelter homes, and places of refuges all have been hit. Doctors, journalists, and aid workers, among them nearly 320 of our staff, have been killed. According to the latest United Nations data, last year was the deadliest year for children in any conflict in recent history. The newly created so-called aid mechanism is an abomination that humiliates and degrades desperate people. It is a death trap costing more lives than it saves. Humanitarian principles need to be reinstated. The humanitarian community, including UNRWA, has the expertise and must be allowed to do their job and provide assistance with respect and dignity. In the occupied West Bank, Palestinians have been displaced from camps in the north at level not seen since 1967. Civilian infrastructure is systematically destroyed, so Palestinians cannot return to their homes. The demography of refugee camps in the northern West Bank is being permanently altered. A tight siege has been imposed on the area, prohibiting movement and cutting off Palestinians from their livelihood. Meanwhile, settler violence continues at alarming levels. Annexation of the West Bank is happening steadily in a gross violation of international law. As you know, coming to UNRWA, the agency I am heading, UNRWA has become an objective of this war, which aims to strip Palestinians of their refugee status. This January, Israeli legislation came into effect, prohibiting UNRWA's activities in what Israel considers its sovereign territory, including East Jerusalem, and prohibiting contact between Israeli authorities and the agency. Consequently, international UNRWA staff have been effectively expelled from the occupied Palestinian territory. However, our activities continue. The courage and determination of our Palestinian staff, despite arrest, intimidation, and harassment, means essential services are still delivered to Palestinian refugees, including primary health care and education. In the dystopian horror that is Gaza, UNRWA still provides more than 15,000 health consultations each day. Our team continues to manage shelters, provide clean water, and remove waste. Our teams are a model of what humanitarian work is and should be. I must also highlight the disinformation campaign portraying UNRWA as a terrorist organization and our staff as terrorist or terrorist sympathizer. This campaign was further reinforced given the prolonged ban on independent international media in Gaza. Over the past 20 months, the government of Israel has continued to make claims against UNRWA and its neutrality. These allegations have put the lives of our staff at serious risk and harmed the reputation of the agency. I must stress that UNRWA, like comparable United Nations entities, does not have police, military, or intelligence capabilities. We rely on member states when such capacities are needed. We have repeatedly asked the government of Israel for evidence to support its claim that some UNRWA staff are involved in militant activity. Last month, I wrote to the Foreign Minister of Israel requesting once again information and evidence to substantiate this allegation. In my letter, I also noted that the government of Israel has not pursued any prosecution within its criminal justice system, which would also require the presentation of credible evidence. We have not received a response. I reiterate here that allegations are not evidence. Repeating allegations in letters or on social media does not constitute due process. Now, the financial situation of the agency. You keep hearing it, but unfortunately it has not improved. The financial situation is extremely dire. Cash flow is now managed on a weekly basis, not anymore on a monthly or yearly basis. Without additional funding, I will soon have to take unprecedented decisions affecting our services to Palestinian refugees across the region. The loss of UNRWA stabilizing effect on a region increasingly in turmoil will also be consequential. So, in response to the very real possibility of the agency imploding in the face of extraordinary adversity, the United Nations Secretary General has requested a strategic assessment of the impact and exercise of UNRWA's mandate. The strategic assessment will propose how the right of Palestinian refugees can be protected amid the immense political, financial and operational pressure the agency is under. I believe UNRWA is a tremendous asset if what we seek is a just and lasting solution to the question of Palestine and its people. A genuine, time-bound political process would allow the agency to finally transition its government-like services to empowered and prepared public institutions serving Palestinians. I believe that in the absence of an orderly transition, the sudden loss or reduction of UNRWA services will only deepen suffering and despair across the occupied Palestinian territory. It might even spark unrest in the neighboring countries. This is something that the region cannot afford, especially now. So let me conclude with a couple of points and then I will take questions. In the context of Gaza, I call again for a ceasefire, the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages, and the delivery of humanitarian supplies at volume under the leadership of the United Nations, including UNRWA. There is no other alternative to address the challenges of spreading hunger in the Gaza Strip. And secondly, give UNRWA the financial and political support it needs to stay afloat until, as part of a political process, the agency can finally transition its government-like services to empowered and prepared public institutions serving the Palestinians. Thank you.
Vielen Dank. Wir kommen zu den Fragen. Wir fangen mal hier vorne an und dann Frau Beuth. Bitte schön.
Bernd Rieger, Deutsche Welle. Mr. Lazzarini, whom did you meet here in Berlin, and what did the government tell you? What do you want actually the German government to do?
Sorry, I thought we were talking German.
No, it was English, I guess.
Sie können sowohl in Englisch als auch natürlich in Deutsch fragen. Das ist
Shall I repeat it? You did the...
No. You asked me who I met in Berlin.
Yes, but what are your demands to the German government? What should are you?
It's my first visit since the election, since a new parliament has been put in place and the new government is in place. It's part of our regular strategic dialogue and partnership between the agency and the German government. So I met our counterpart within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, within BMZ, but I'm also engaging with a number of parliamentary groups during these 2 days. First, to stress how important the support of Germany is for our agency, to call on Germany to continue to provide both political and financial support to the agency, but also to help the agency to stay afloat and to be part of future political processes. Basically, we are today in a situation where the agency risks either to crash, but I believe crashing would be the worst option for the region. And so I'm asking countries like Germany to help the agency to have an orderly future transition to ensure that there is sustainability or at least lasting alternative when it comes to the provision of services like education and primary health. What I mean by here, because as you know, there have been many discussions about can the agency be replaced by another agency. I think replacing by another agency does not address any of the fundamental problem, and in addition, there is no other agency geared to provide public-like services, which means that when we ask the question, we have to invest in alternatives, in building public capacities when the future would be the one delivering these services. And that's exactly what I'm asking to Germany and to member states. Help us to succeed in orderly future transition.
Follow up, if I may. Did you get any concrete pledges, given the fact that the German government usually sides with or plays along with the Israeli government?
Oh, I think there is a budgetary discussion going on right now in Germany for 25 and then 26. My call and my plea to Germany is remain committed to the agency in the foreseeable future, to help, to also signal to the Palestinians that Germany or other European countries have not turned their back. And I think it's important to signal that countries remain committed and involved, especially at a time the plight and the future of the Palestinians is so uncertain.
Frau Goethe.
Very similar questions. Firstly, when you say you pledged for political support, what do you expect Germany exactly to do? Do you expect a certain approach towards Israel, talking to Israel, or What would you like Germany politically to do? And how could an alternative system, what could it look like?
I think there are different ways to express political support. There is political support through multilateral organizations like in Brussels with the EU, or also within the United Nations at the General Assembly, at the Fifth Committee, Fourth Committees. That's a starting point. But indeed also to support to be also invested in making again a reality the two-state solution. And I say again because we have never been further away today when it comes to the two-state solution. But that's also the reason why more than ever there is a necessity to invest in a process which would lead to such a situation. Now, I'll give you an example. When it comes to Gaza, no one knows what the future of Gaza will be all about. We can go from a worst-case scenario to a best-case scenario. But let's stop a little bit on the best-case scenario. We need a ceasefire. Once we have a ceasefire, we need to address the issue of the future governance and security arrangement of the Gaza Strip. Through this, there are also discussions after that of a reconstruction plan which has been prepared by the Arabs, supported by the Europeans. In a context like this one, an agency like ours is a real asset because we can be part of building the capacity of future Palestinian institutions which will be dealing with education and primary health. Only in Gaza, we have 12,000 staff. Among them, 8,000 teachers. They were providing education to nearly 300,000 girls and boys. So there is a know-how there. And I believe that investing politically is also to help to make this happen.
Weitere Fragen? Bitte.
Hi, Mr. Lazzarini. I have a question regarding, you said you need financial support to keep the agency afloat. Can you give us a number of how much money do you need and how much time do you have left with the money you have, but the financial backup you have now to continue to support Palestinians in Gaza?
Thank you. 2 weeks ago, I was about to take an unprecedented decision. I was about to suspend thousands, 10, 15, 20,000 staff across the region because of lack of cash flow and funding. Fortunately, some donors who were supposed to disburse later in the year decided to advance a contribution, which has given us a respite for the next 2 months. Now, the shortfall between now and the end of the year is about $200 million. As an agency, just to process the payroll of our staff, we need 60 million a month. So basically, we have no visibility anymore beyond September. But our situation is even more dire this year than previous year, that when we start the year, in the past, we used to receive the contribution of the United States. But the United States, who was the main donor before, has definitely suspended its contribution to the agency. So that means we have 6 months ahead of us for which we have absolutely no visibility. So 200 million till the end of the year, but I'm still missing the first quarter of 2026. So it is indeed extremely dire. My message to the region, to to the donor in general is we need collective mobilization to make sure that the instrument which has been put in place by the international community to serve the Palestinian refugees remains afloat, at least until we agree of the direction of travel.
Oh, good.
Apart from the USA, which you cannot count on at the moment, and Germany, what are the countries you most count on or hope for in the future?
Well, that's a very good question. We have a top 10 contributor of the agencies. 2 of the top 10 who were part of the top 10 last year are not part of the top 10 this year anymore because they have suspended their contribution to the agency, being the United States, and 1 European country being Sweden. Now, obviously, I count a lot on our traditional donors in Europe, including Canada, Japan, joining this effort, but I also count a lot on the Arab world and the Gulf countries. We had last year record year when it comes to mobilization from the Arab world. We succeeded to mobilize about $200 million. We are far from that this year, but I'm still hopeful that between now and the end of the year, some of the expressed political support or solidarity be translated, in fact, into matching resources. So that's basically where I expect the contribution for the time being to come. I just want also to flag here that we had an extraordinary solidarity from the individual giving last year. The agency has been able to mobilize about $150 million. We were not used, $150 million from individual giving, which reflects, in fact, the solidarity of the street to the region, but also to an agency like ours.
Scott, RTL. Do you see a possibility that the ceasefire between Israel and Iran changes the situation also for Gaza? Not so far because of the relation between your agency and Israel changes, also in terms of that Hamas is losing support from Iran and lays down its weapons and yeah, maybe goes for a ceasefire and frees the hostages, something like that. Is that possible?
Listen, I would love. We need a ceasefire. We need the release of the hostages. We need to be able to scale up in an uninterrupted way the assistance to the population in Gaza. I woke up this morning hearing about the ceasefire between Israel and Iran. I really hope it holds. Anything de-escalating the situation, of course, is welcome, is needed more than ever. The region is in a turmoil. And if this can lead to a ceasefire on Gaza, I think that would be certainly a great news that we are all hoping since a long time.
But the amount of influence on the, conflicting sides of your agency is how strong is it, or is it?
Sorry, the influence.
The amount of influence you have to impose on the conflict sides. You know what I mean? That you have influence on the Israel side or on the Arabic side or on Hamas is. How strong are you, and how important is your influence in the region?
Well, I have no political influence at all. As you know, I'm heading a human development agency. But it is also true that providing human development and a sense of a better future to one of the most destitute communities in the region, being the Palestinian refugees, has also contributed to, and this has been acknowledged, to some prosperity, some peace and stability. And the fear is that if these services to such an important community present in Lebanon, in Jordan, in Syria, but also in the occupied Palestinian territories, that this would add additional turmoil if the agency would not be able to continue to work. So our political engagement is more about drawing the attention about the risk of an agency not in a position anymore to fulfill its mandate, and on the other hand also draws the attention about how the agency can play a critical and positive role in any agreed political pathway which would also ensure access and the right of the Palestinians in the future.
I have another question regarding the humanitarian situation. Can you maybe describe how the humanitarian system is working on the ground at the moment? I mean, the focus is still on the, what is it called? The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, I think. But how many aid supplies can the UN organizations manage to get into Gaza right now per day?
Well, in Gaza, people, when they describe the GHF, they talk about the Gaza Humiliation Foundation because that's what they feel. Now, we as UNRWA, we are not in a position to bring any supply into Gaza. And collectively, the humanitarian communities has currently food and goods outside of Gaza, which would fill at least 10,000 trucks. So we are ready. We have a huge amount of assistance which has been mobilized. What came in lately has been few trucks of flour through WFP, but these trucks, many of them, when they went to the north, have been looted. So we do not have an humanitarian assistance when it comes to aid delivery at scale at all. We are still prevented. So the activities remaining right now are more services like the one I described before, through primary health care, psychosocial support, the water, the waste management. But as we see the images on a daily basis, food, everything is lacking in the Gaza Strip. And that's the reason why this siege needs to be lifted.
Weitere Fragen? Frau Goethe.
Could you explain again how the war with Iran affected the situation in Gaza and also in the West Bank?
Somehow it has not impacted the situation in Gaza. There have been daily military operations. There have been daily killings, including during food distribution. The real impact has been that Gaza was not the headline. There was not the attention which started to grow around Gaza, and the mobilization within the international community all of a sudden has been distracted to has turned, I wouldn't say distracted, has turned towards the conflict between Iran and Israel. Now, in the West Bank, the war has imposed a kind of lockdown for the population without the possibility to be able to move from one governorate to another governorate. So it has been an additional layer of restriction for the Palestinians in the West Bank.
Weitere Fragen? Das sehe ich nicht. Then thank you for the visit.
Thank you.
Und vielen Dank, und ich lade dann auch ein zu Herrn Klingbeil in einer Stunde. Schönen Dank.
Danke sehr.